monthly from September through May. And this is where we have our meetings, usually at 2:30 in the afternoon. If you'd like to become a member of the Hammond Historical Society or find out any more information about any of our publications or our events, please see the table there in the back. The first weekend of October, we're going to be having our 3rd annual cemetery tour. And if any of you have seen it before, you will remember that it's quite an event, and we'd like to see you out there this year. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Brian Poland, who will be conducting this meeting, and we just ask that people mention their names before they talk. But I'll let Brian tell you more about that. Thank you.
All right. Well, again, I'd like to welcome you all here. That was Kurt Freeman. My name is Brian Poland. We're doing something a little bit different today than what is normally done with Society, mainly in conjunction with the downtown celebration events that are happening in the Avenue area. We invite everybody to come in and to share their memories of what downtown was or what it means to them, your favorite memory, anything like that. We would like this to be as informal as possible, so you'll just be very comfortable in talking.
You could find the best hosiery and the nicest handbags. I also remember shopping at Minus. I came from South Chicago. They had the best crystal. They had the best bed linens. They had the best fabrics for sewing, and I surely miss both of those places. I wish that we had never destroyed them. My mom and I moved into our house at 251 Dyer Boulevard after my father passed away. She did not want to live alone, so we lived on one of the most beautiful streets in Hammond, Dyer Boulevard. We later found out that the home we were living in at one time was owned by the man who owned the Paramount Theater, which unfortunately is also destroyed. My neighbor was Pete and Mary Barriolis, who ran Jersey Made ice cream for over 50 years. Wonderful neighbors. Across the street, my other neighbor was Vi Milne, M-I-L-N-E. She taught half of Hammond to dance. She died about 2 years ago at the age of 92, and I wish she could be here today because she was a storyteller par excellence, and she knew everything about Hammond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, that's the only memory I have of the building as an empty shell. But does anybody else want to? Oh, okay. Another guinea pig.
Well, I'm Suzanne Long, and while we're speaking of the Goldblatt's building, I really liked it, and we did do some shopping in there. But what I remember most about that Goldblatt's building is the smell of the building if you went in the south side doors. I don't know what it was, sort of a pastrami sausage. There was some strange, well, it was okay smell, but it was just an odd smell. I've never smelled that again, nor since, or before. It was, yeah, I remember there being a whole grocery store downstairs. So it was some food down there, but I never actually figured out what. But that's hot. Oh. Well, it sort of had that smell, but it was an interesting smell.
Okay. All right.
You bet. And wonderful food.
Okay, we're going to. You have to hold both hands.
Okay. I'm Thora Hill Berry, and I'm 71, and I've lived all my life in Hammond until I recently moved to Highland. But the thing I remember as a kid was going downtown on Saturdays, the 4 dime stores. I loved those dime stores. Grant's, Woolworth's, Kresge's, Newberry's, and we always ate lunch either at the counter at Woolworth's or we ate at Walgreens across the street. And then, of course, at Christmas there was no place like Goldblatt's animated window, and they had a beautiful organ player inside. Those are memories I will never forget. it was such a treat to go downtown, and I looked forward to it every Saturday. We had to go downtown just to go in the 4 dime stores. I remember if I had a nickel to spend, I would buy a nickel's worth of peanut butter kisses at Woolworth's candy department. And then I loved to watch the donut machine that circulated and put out donuts fresh for you. It was the best of times. I loved it.
I hope no one thinks I'm trying to cut them off, but I'm trying to make sure everybody has a chance to speak. Okay, I guess we have another round here. Okay.
My name is Jerry Schlensky, and our family has been in Hammond for over 100 years. My father had a business on what was then called Plummer Avenue. He was a wholesale commission merchant, and at that time Hammond was loaded with small grocery stores, almost on every corner or in the middle of the block. And my father sold produce to those people. My wife and I were both born in Hammond, and my wife represents another business that was formerly in Hammond, and that was Leon's Floor Covering right down here on State Street. If you drive down the street, you can see where some of the covering has come off, and you can still see the name of the store there. And we have lived always in Hammond, then we moved to Munster, and now we're living in Highland. So all our lives we have been in Hammond.
How to keep it alive. I know the city is trying to make a lot of efforts to bring some retail efforts back. It is a very difficult challenge, and the city is trying to do that. At least they're focusing on west of Homan in the State Street area. But Mr. Swanson here wanted to speak.
Transportation has always been a problem here, and the original transportation was the streetcar. And as one of my dad's friends used to say, meet me where the car bends, I got the switches. That meant that he was going to, the streetcar came down Homan Avenue to State Street to Rimback over to Sibley back to Homan, and then it went back out to Chicago. And the switches was the transfers, and that was the car bend. And then in 1937 they got rid of the streetcars and they put in the buses. And on Thursday night and Saturday, all day Saturday, you could get your buses by Woolworths, and they would come in just regularly. And sometimes there would be 2 and 3 buses waiting to take passengers. And I can't remember how they came in from the north. Pardon? What'd you say? No, I mean downtown. They came down. The streetcar tracks came down Calumet out of the 5 Points, came down Calumet to Sheffield, and then Sheffield to Goslin back over to Homan, and then it came downtown here. But I can't, as I said, I can't quite remember where you got off when you came in from the north. And in 1937, the streetcars were done, and you had the buses, and that's when you had really the traffic downtown.
Right next to the tracks in downtown Hammond, on the east side of the street, they had a place that we had buy ice cream and whatnot. The streetcars and buses all stopped there.
Yeah.
In the downtown area.
Yeah.
So much.
Well, anything you want to say?
Okay.
Just identify yourself first,
Yes.
please.
I'm Marion Nichols Wheeler, and my family moved to Hammond in 1930. At that time, I entered Washington School, 8th grade, on William Street. I have many fond memories as a teenager. We walked everywhere. We walked to the Paramount Theater when we had a dime to see the movies, and Janet Gaynor was my favorite. I'm sure I had crushes on her leading men. And we walked down to the main library, which was further north, as you know, near Michigan Avenue. The parades I recall because my dad was employed at NIPSCO, and I was able to see some of the parades from the second floor window there. And my dad was also a Mason, and he walked in some of the parades. I recall many of the sidewalk day sales. EC Minus was my favorite store because I made my own clothes in high school, and that's where I went to get my material, or J.C. Penney's and Goldblatt's. I remember all the stores you have mentioned. When I graduated from either the high school or business college, I'm not sure which, I received a Singer sewing machine, which I have to this day, and that was on State Street, the Singer shop. I remember the luggage shop there. Was that Lesser's? Lesser. I bought a trunk there, I think, when I was married, and Milliken's was our favorite sports store. I had a brother 2 years older than I, and occasionally we were able to purchase something. We had our typewriters from Dick Hoyt, and I do remember, like I say, many of these parades down Holman and on State Street.